Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Good for Bitcoin. My name is Brandon, social media manager here at Trust Machines, joined by my co-host, Kate. Happy Friday, Kate.
Happy Friday, Brandon. What a bullish week we've had.
So, there's so much to be excited about. That's definitely kind of the title of today's show. My gosh, there's just so much to be excited about, both in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and of course in the Stacks ecosystem.
Yeah.
So many announcements this week, so many launches, product launches, hints of things to come next week. It's Bitcoin Vegas next week. Yeah, busy week. Getting prepped, I think, also for everything.
Totally. It's going to be so fun next week in Vegas because we have so much going on. There's so much to talk about. And I just feel like there's this good energy. Being a Bitcoiner, it's a good time right now. So it's going to be a fun week, but I'm really excited for the show. We have a lot of fun, really interesting things to talk about.
Vibes are very good.
Yeah.
Definitely can confirm. Yeah, to start with, we have to talk about Leather's new look.
We have to. I had to rep the hat today.
Yeah. You're perfectly set up to talk about Leather.
Yeah.
New look. Gosh, where do we even begin? Grow your Bitcoin. That's really the big focus for Leather, right? It's looking at all these ways of making your Bitcoin more productive, whether that is through things like stacking, either like native stacking or liquid stacking, through, having SBTC and, deploying it in all the different apps that are out there. And Leather is just trying to be that sort of one place to access all these different opportunities of making your Bitcoin more productive. So we love the tagline, new tagline, grow your Bitcoin. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna click through a few of these things and we can kind of just talk about each kind of page here. We can start off with stacking. So as part of this update as well, you had originally you had lock stacks, which was kind of the main place to interact with stacking, especially pooled stacking. That was eventually kind of transitioned into Leather Earn at the beginning of this year, and now it's sort of just been again transitioned directly into Leather.io, and now you can see the URL up here. It's app.leather.io. So a lot of really cool things there. But this is now your destination for accessing all the different stacking pools that are available for native stacking. It's so handy here to be able to see also like historical yields, so you can see, maybe which pools are not charging a fee, what pools are charging a fee, what you can kind of expect from like a historical APY or APR standpoint. And it's just super easy to go in and interact with these things now. And then liquid stacking as well, stacking down Lisa. You can see kind of what the historical yield has been, what the fees are, and a ton of FAQs and good guides in here on accessing all this stuff.
Yeah, this is such a good... I think we were really long overdue for a really good interface or dashboard in our ecosystem that just really gives you like a comprehensive view of all the different ways to earn more Bitcoin, more stacks. And it's just such a great place. Like if someone is new to stacks, like it's such a great place to send them. There's so much like education and information in here. And I think it's just like really beautifully designed and so easy to have it all in one place. And I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. Super easy. I just love there's so many like tool tips and so much things that are trying to like kind of guide you and explain different, concepts. And this is what we need, right? It's like we need, like you said, that it's really great to have like a destination to send people to like access all these cool apps and cool things that you can do in the Stacks ecosystem. But also just from an educational standpoint, it tries to guide you through some of these things as easily as possible. Moving over to SBTC, of course, we're going to get into Cap 3 and the max bridging capacity currently being reached, but Normally you'd be able to bridge in and out from here once the bridge opens up. Also being able to enroll in the SBTC rewards program, and then other opportunities on Alex and Bitflow and Velar and Zest and everywhere to be able to earn additional yield on your SBTC by depositing it onto those platforms. So again, just like one-stop destination for these are some of the things that you can do with SBTC, and just having it all in one spot. It's really cool.
Very cool. Well done, Leather team.
Yeah. Huge shout out to the Leather team. This has like been something that they've been working on for a long time. And I don't know if it's going to show up, like I'm sharing the screen in the window. I don't know if it's going to like reflect if I like resize the window and I make it smaller here, but
I wonder why.
There you go. For this kind of screen size, it's gonna work really well. So I'm seeing the preview, and it actually seems like it resizes pretty nicely on the preview
nice.
there. And then you can drill into like apps, and you can see all the different apps. There's a directory. Of course, this is going to be expanded on quite a bit, but just really cool to see all these different apps, and you can click on them, and it gives you a ton of information about what each application is and what you can expect to do, and their social handles, and just like, again, it's just all this really cool stuff, and just like one-stop destination. So leather.io, that's where you go now. And then of course you can install Leather. You can get on the mobile wait list and get some more information there. But very, very cool stuff.
Do we have more Leather news?
Well, Leather is teasing more things. They very cryptically tweeted. I stopped sharing my screen, and now I have to go back to sharing my screen because I forgot that we were segueing into this part. So Leather tweeted out this morning.
Back.
We are so back. Big news dropping this week. Turn on your notifications. So go in here, enable your notifications. I just did. And we'll see what happens next week. Vegas is going to be a lot of fun.
Very cryptic indeed.
Cool.
All right. Should we get into the industry news? There's been a lot happening this week.
Yep. As always, so many things. So, of course, we have to start with strategy. They've acquired another 7,390 BTC for $764 million. They now hold 576,230 BTC. And we also saw a new company enter the mix with Strive Asset Management, revealing their Bitcoin Treasury Blueprint strategy, I guess, at Strategy World 2025. So MicroStrategy had like a conference, and they unveiled it there. So Strive Asset Management announced it is combining with NASDAQ-listed asset entities, it's the ticker ASST, to become the first publicly traded asset manager-led Bitcoin treasury company. I'm feeling very fatigued with all of these new public companies that are trying to buy Bitcoin. I thought this was interesting because Strive was originally co-founded by Vivek Ramaswamy, who is kind of in Trump's cabinet and was a presidential candidate for a while. So that's interesting. But they're basically, one thing that I thought was interesting is they said that they're going to be how can I not say this word?
Operationalizing?
Oh. Operationalizing. Okay.
That's a tough one.
Operationalizing Section 351 of the U.S. tax code, which allows accredited Bitcoin holders to contribute BTC to the company in exchange for equity without triggering capital gains taxes, which is interesting. I never heard of that before. I'm not accredited, so I can't participate in this. Usually to be an accredited investor in the U.S., it means you have to basically be a millionaire. That's what you need to do in order to be accredited. So it's very much a pay to play kind of thing. But just another company that's getting on board with a Bitcoin strategy, and they are now publicly traded.
So
also saw that. Yeah.
With like Section 351, is it basically you could transfer your Bitcoin to a company that you own, and like you're not triggering capital gains? Is that sort of the loophole that's happening here?
I don't really know. I'm very surprised that it's without triggering capital gains. Like, I wonder, like, you're giving them your Bitcoin. I would assume to not have capital gains, that means that you still would have a claim to that Bitcoin, and you could like eventually like withdraw it and maybe just do like a like for like kind of exchange. But I don't know. I'm not a US tax expert, so I don't really know beyond what they're saying. Like, without triggering capital gains taxes. Like, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. We have how many companies have like, I don't know, launched these strategies or announced these strategies in the past like few weeks? We have at least 3 or 4. One a week, it seems like, is what we're getting these days. The MD shareholders also approved their merger with Nakamoto that we talked about last week. So that transaction is expected to close in Q3 2025. And I think I saw this morning that the ticker did change to Naka. I think I had predicted that last week. So it is no longer KDLY or whatever, and now it is NAKA. And they also announced a partnership with Anchorage Digital.
Yeah, I saw that one this morning. I thought that's a pretty big partnership. Anchorage Digital is Anchorage Digital. Neither of us can talk today. We're really struggling on the words.
There's been too much going on this week. It's just, we need a break.
They're the only federally chartered bank, which just like means that they're open to so much more like financial services, I believe. So this is like a pretty big partnership, it seems, for Nakamoto, who wants to bring like Bitcoin reserve for public companies global. So could be something cool there.
Anchorage has had, remember like when ETFs were not out in the US yet, and they were speculating, are they just going to approve BlackRock's ETF and not approve anybody else's ETF, immediately, right? And then BlackRock is going to sort of be the chosen one naturally because no other company, has an ETF.
Yeah.
But then they ended up kind of launching it for, many companies at the same time. Anchorage Digital just kind of, I think, got lucky a few years ago, and they applied at just like this little window where there wasn't like a ton of hostility yet towards crypto, but I don't know, they got through basically. And then soon afterwards, like, I think that's when you saw all the, the FTX stuff happened, and then they just like shut all that down, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't approve any others. So Anchorage has, they've been like the only, company with a banking charter for years. And I think now kind of things are clearing up where there's going to be more, but they've been kind of an OG player in this space for quite some time in the institutional space.
They have that first mover advantage for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Said much better in much smaller words than I just did.
We got there.
First mover advantage. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So in other news, Senate advances the Genius Act. So we talked last week about how that sort of got pushed back or kind of delayed, but it seems like they're making some more progress there. So clearing the way for final passage. The U.S. Senate voted to move ahead on stablecoin legislation Monday night, removing a procedural, again, speaking, oh my gosh, barrier to ultimately passing the bill out of the body entirely. Lawmakers voted 66-32 to invoke cloture, which is just a procedural move that limits additional debate on the bill. So basically it just goes through and now they can actually vote on it. Or not vote on it. Now it's kind of gone through this phase of they're going to look for any kind of changes that they need to make, any amendments that they need to make. But kind of the bill itself is sort of set, and now they're moving on to the next stage. Last week, we talked about this. No Democrats supported the bill last week, citing concerns over provisions related to foreign issuers, anti-money laundering, and potential corporate issuance of stablecoins, and also President Trump's deepening ties to crypto ventures, including a stablecoin that he recently launched. So conflict of interest was kind of a big fear there. But I guess they've worked through the bill. The House is also working through its own version of the bill. Just overall, this Genius Act has been a huge priority of kind of the Trump administration. It was one of the big things that he promised was to have, clear guidance and clear regulation for stablecoins and for crypto. So really big priority for them to get this passed. And it's nice to see that they're making a little bit more progress there. The Genius bill specifically will require stablecoins to be fully backed by US dollars or other similar liquid assets, I think like treasury bills and stuff like that. Mandate annual audits for issuers with more than $50 billion in market cap, and add language around foreign issuance. Probably things like, not giving it to like people in like restricted countries, like sanctioned countries, things like that, I'm sure is what that has to do with. And so after this cloture vote, lawmakers need to take votes on changes to the bill and take steps to get a final vote. Maybe we'll see something next week around the conference. It seems like they're trying to like line things up with the Bitcoin conference almost. But that is the current progress. So Genius Act is slowly but surely making its way through.
This one would be huge. I mean, I think stablecoins have just been such a use case for crypto, and I think it would be like monumental the amount of money that would flow through stablecoins if there was some really good guidance and regulation for it. So yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, stablecoin issuers overall are huge holders of like U.S. Treasuries. So it's the more that stablecoins proliferate, the world, the more kind of in proxy the U.S. dollar proliferates. So it is seen as a good thing, stablecoins are, and it's definitely become much less controversial with that framing on advancing, U.S. dollar sort of dominance. Yeah.
I added this one in here just since we were on the ABCD alphabet groups. There was like a bipartisan group representative, Tom Emmer, who's Republican, Richie Torres, who's a Democrat. They reintroduced the Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act. So this is aiming to protect blockchain developers and service providers from being wrongly classified as money transmitters or financial institutions. So it's basically like people who are building in crypto, self-custody apps, they're never really holding money, so they shouldn't be classified as such. And I think that's something that, users obviously know as we use the products day in, day out, but this would be a pretty big one if this like ends up getting through the pipeline and passed. So I think that was a pretty important one that I saw.
Yeah, really good progress. I think this is also one that isn't super controversial. We've talked about it on the show with like the FDIC and the CFTC and all these different U.S. government organizations that have withdrawn, their guidance or at least provided some guidance that this was the case. But to have it actually codified in law is what you really want, right? So that they can't, arbitrarily change their mind later. And that's what you want is you want these actually as laws. So yeah, good news there. I thought this was funny. I wanted to include it. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon said that they will allow their clients to buy Bitcoin. He was in an interview and he quoted and he said, "We are going to allow you to buy it. We're not going to custody it. We're going to put it in statements for clients." Then he went on to add, "I don't think you should smoke, but I defend your right to smoke. I defend your right to buy Bitcoin." So he's coming around a little bit.
Yeah, I really went from ban it to, all right, let's list it.
Yeah, he originally, there's like a lot of things that he said anti-Bitcoin. In 2021, he called it worthless. He told lawmakers during a Senate hearing in late 2023, he has always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc., that the only true use case for it is for criminals, drug traffickers, money laundering, and tax avoidance. And he said, if I was the government, I'd close it down. I think he also once said that if there's anybody like at JP Morgan that is like trading Bitcoin, he'll like fire them a few years ago. So he also was the person that said, Bitcoin does nothing. I call it the pet rock. And Bitcoin is not just a pet rock, right? That's what that's what we say here. So
I wonder if this comes from like client pressure, basically being like, we want Bitcoin or we're going to move banks. And maybe he gets the message at that point.
Yeah, it has to. I think it's just like if you can't beat them, join them though, right? Like these banks have to get on board with this stuff. It's a new financial technology. I didn't put it in the notes here, but I saw there was like a collective of banks that might be like trying to launch their own stable coin.
Okay.
Also in the US. I think I read that yesterday. So, banks are getting on board, whether Jamie Dimon likes it or not.
It's just a tough look to have those like such harsh sentences out there and then being like, all right, you can buy Bitcoin with us now.
Yeah, it's like, the rat poison, Bitcoin is rat poison.
Yeah,
all
so
those
good.
classic lines. Yeah, they'll have to eat their words eventually.
Yeah. I think I put this one in here. It was kind of shared around like the Stacks ecosystem this morning. It's a collab between UTXO management and Bitwise. I'll share. There was like a good thread about it. So let's see if I can share this. There we go. So I'll just walk you through the thread from Bronze Age GG. So basically it's all about institutional inflows coming to Bitcoin for 2025 to 2026. And he just goes through some of his big takeaways that I thought were pretty interesting. So first one is they were expecting about 120 billion of Bitcoin flowing into, institutional funds flowing into Bitcoin in 2025, 2026. Over 4.2 million of this Bitcoin could be acquired by institutions like public companies, sovereign wealth funds, ETFs. And then I'll go to the next one. Oh, it's like a slideshow here. That's pretty cool.
Perfect for presenting.
Yeah, this is great. to know public companies are driving long-term demand for Bitcoin. So over 1 million Bitcoin is expected to be held by these companies by the end of 2026. So think like Michael Saylor's strategy. They hold 570,000 plus right now, but this number of treasury holding companies is expected to more than double, which is pretty insane. Then we have, U.S. legislation is like a major catalyst for a lot of this happening. So there's a lot of bills in Congress that are paving the way for Bitcoin to become this strategic reserve asset. And then this could mean that 19 billion plus in new Bitcoin investment in governments could be flowing in. And yeah, the shift is already influencing how institutions allocate capital and hedge their portfolios. I'm really struggling with the words. It's so funny. Okay, so the next one is really about game theory, driving nation state and state level adoption. So by the end of 2026, it's expected that 4 new countries and 5 US states will adopt Bitcoin strategic reserves. And then the last one, which applies so much to us, is about Bitcoin DeFi, or Bitcoin Fi, as we like to call it, and how yield is going to be the next frontier. Because institutions are obviously searching the best yield on their Bitcoin. And Bitcoin Fi is really positioning itself to be the dominant use case. So I think obviously as clear regulations and Bitcoin's reputation versus other blockchains, it'll just really help like legitimize Bitcoin native yield products and protocols that are building this way. So I thought that was a really good report. There's obviously more to it. But I think it's just good signal for us, for sure, over here in Stacks.
Definitely. They need to update that chart. It's all
yes,
already
I know. It's very out of date.
Out of date.
I knew we were going to get into that.
Yeah.
That is not accurate at the moment.
We're going to get into that. So going back to a couple things you said, and this also goes into the next topic of like states, getting into their strategic reserve bills. So we've already seen New Hampshire do it, and now Texas has passed their strategic Bitcoin reserve bill, SB21. So that sounds realistic to me. We already have 2 states that are doing it.
Yep.
It makes so much sense that more, would flow into this ecosystem. We're going to get into a lot of the bullish things on the Stack side that got shared during the roadmap at the beginning of this week. And a lot of what was shared is about making it easier for institutions to get into this space, either through like tier 1 stable coins and just having better bridges or more bridges and just and better wallet infrastructure and all these things. So I think Stacks is becoming pretty well positioned to handle that inflow of institutional, adoption on Bitcoin.
Yep. We're really entering the Bitcoin institutional era.
Totally. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look through, but I think there's also there was this one thread that I wanted to get to, but I didn't get a chance to read through it and share it here. On also just some fears, though, about especially all these new Bitcoin treasury public companies that are coming about and, buying Bitcoin and using these like unique ways of like selling equity or selling, raising debt to then buy Bitcoin, and how it translates to the liquidity crisis that we saw in Bitcoin a few years ago with like the BlockFis and the Celsiuses and everything, just crumbling because everyone was borrowing against everybody else. And it turned into just this huge cluster of credit crisis. And some of that is, there's like just a little bit of fear on all these public companies eventually happens if they have to sell their Bitcoin, and that would really tank the price. The network itself would be fine, but it could really have a pretty bad impact on price, like we saw a few years ago in like the 2021 time. So definitely have to keep an eye on that too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, let's go back to the Texas news. So so they passed their strategic Bitcoin reserve bill, SB21. The bill establishes the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, a special fund managed by the state controller to invest in cryptocurrency, specifically targeting assets with at least $500 billion in market cap. Very similar, I think, to the New Hampshire bill, and Bitcoin is the only crypto that qualifies under that 500 billion market cap criteria. There was just one small amendment that was made to the bill this week, stating that allowed cryptocurrencies must maintain that $500 billion market cap for 24 months instead of 12 months is what it was listed before. The bill moves to Governor Greg Abbott for signing. He has been a very long time Bitcoin and crypto supporter, and he has not signed the bill yet, but he did actually retweet the news of this getting signed or getting passed this morning. So it seems like he is most likely going to be signing this bill. He just hasn't done it yet. So very cool. Texas is going to be probably the second state to have an SBR.
I read somewhere actually that we were talking about Arizona a couple weeks ago, and they were trying to pass the bill, but it was for their state retirement fund, and their governor X'd it. But then I read that like 5 days later, she went back and established like a state managed Bitcoin reserve from like unclaimed digital assets and staking rewards.
Yes.
How is that different?
I think so. It's similar to like the strategic Bitcoin reserve versus the strategic like crypto, whatever the wording was that Trump used on the federal side, right? Where any like seized assets or any unclaimed assets, they're going to
still like hold them in their reserve.
Yeah, they're gonna like they could potentially like reclaim them. Mm-hmm. I think what basically they made they made a change to their what is the word? I think we talked about it a few weeks ago on the show, but I think it was when Jason was on and you were on vacay. So I'm trying to like remember exactly what the wording was, but it was something how they changed one of their existing laws for like unclaimed assets, where they included now digital assets in that kind of existing framework, where they can now claim like digital assets as well. But yeah, we were speculating like how much could that possibly be? Like maybe there's a little bit there, but it can't be that much. We know like, of course, from the US with like not Mount Gox, but like Silk Road, of course, there's a lot of Bitcoin that they seize from that. And some of the big like Bitfinex hacks and stuff like that. So that, the federal government certainly has a lot of seized Bitcoin that they have. But like how much can like Arizona possibly have? I don't know. It can't be that much. So it's like kind of cool, but like, yeah, in terms of like, they're not actively going to be purchasing Bitcoin like this bill would allow them to do. It's just like whatever, has been like seized in the past, they'll be able to sort of take control over. So.
And another thing I'm wondering, when they always say like a crypto asset above 500 billion, but they're really referring to Bitcoin. And I'm always wondering, like, why don't they just name Bitcoin? And I'm wondering if it's because like they're trying to be nonpartisan or they don't want to have favorites, but I think maybe it's just like a politician's way of like writing it. Maybe just like writing in like a just in case. But yeah, it's always interesting when they say it has to have like all of the requirements of Bitcoin, but they won't just say Bitcoin.
Yeah. I think that that's part of it. Yeah. They don't like, there's still probably like a bit of reputational risk from saying like, yeah, Bitcoin. So they just like say it without saying it. But I think it's also like future proofing it. Like, what if like 10 years from now, there is like another like crypto that, I don't know, wouldn't replace Bitcoin, but maybe is just some other sort of like store of value kind of asset. Maybe like a yield bearing stable coin or something like that.
That's fair.
So, maybe in the future we'll have something like that and it'll make sense to include it. But yeah, Bitcoin only for now, which is fine.
Maybe when ETH 500 billion.
I don't think that's happening.
No, I'm just kidding.
Gosh, I had such a bad I had to use Ethereum today and it was terrible. Yeah, the fees on Ethereum are just so bad. It's just awful. I had to use it because I was trying to get more USDC on Granite through AEUSDC. And in order to do that, I had to buy USDC on Coinbase, which is free, which is cool. And then I transferred it over to a Solana wallet because I was going to bridge from Solana to AEUSDC into Lether. And no fault to Allbridge, but it like didn't work on Allbridge because just liquidity is not there for like the Solana to Stacks kind of pair. So I moved it back to Coinbase, and then I moved it from Coinbase to MetaMask wallet, and that was like a few dollars fee to do that. And then I had to, call the smart contract on MetaMask on Allbridge, and that was another few dollars. And it's so dumb that it costs like multiple dollars to do these types of transactions. On Stacks, it's like basically free, right? It's like a fraction of a penny.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like get it into Stacks. But yeah, just like that friction was just really brutal. It'll probably be worth it, I guess, because like ultimately I'm putting it on Granite and I'm going to be earning some yield on
It'll
it.
cover your fees.
And it'll eventually cover my fees. But
It's very frustrating,
yeah, super frustrating.
especially when you don't want to use it. Like you don't.
Yeah, I avoid using Ethereum at all costs. Why would I subject myself to that? Yeah, and like I didn't have any ETH. I just wanted to, use like USDC, right? But you can't just do that because you need ETH for gas fees. So it's just a mess. I don't know what they're doing over there.
No one does.
Well, speaking of networks and things, I guess flipping other things, Stacks has officially this week flipped Lightning and Liquid in terms of BTC bridged in. So this one was massive. Stacks is now officially, I think, like definitively, we can say it, then the top Bitcoin layer. So yeah, we shared this chart here. Stacks has nearly 5,000, or maybe it's like a little bit above 5,000 now because there's a little bit more that actually got bridged in. But especially to surpass Lightning, which has kind of been like the OG network, the OG Bitcoin L2, is huge. I think it was, I was chatting with Tycho about it the other day, and he mentioned that, Lightning has been the L2, the main L2 for, its entire history. Right. So to have Stacks surpass Lightning, it's a really big deal.
Yeah, that's huge. I think it makes a lot of eyes turn to us. People might have heard of Stacks, but they weren't super familiar, or maybe they didn't ever hear of it, and now they're looking for sure. Yeah. So if we go to our trusty Bitcoin layers here, we can see, Lightning Network has 4,293 BTC supply. We go over to side systems. Stacks here is now very close to the top. We have a few networks here that are going to be delisted at the end of next month from that side system area. Babylon is still technically ahead of Stacks, but if we go into Babylon, we'll see that their supply in terms of things that are BTC that is bridged in has been very rapidly dropping. Yeah.
If we look in just sort of the last 3 months, you can see like it was originally like a crazy high amount of like 55,000 Bitcoin, which is like insane. And now it's like, 5,400 or so. So, who knows, in a couple more weeks, there could be a few more hundred Bitcoin taken out of Babylon, and then Stacks will be number one on here as well. But yeah, to flip, Liquid as well as Lightning is just a huge deal.
That's huge. You made a great point about, I'll put you on the spot, but you said like, you were talking about flash in the pan rewards, and it's mostly really about how like real Bitcoin adoption on an L2 comes from protocols that are prioritizing security through the miners, through the stackers, and, making protocols really attractive for the long term, and not just through like mercenaries to peg in for rewards, basically.
Yeah, I think it's also like it's important, and Manib has said this as well. Like it's important that all these networks are not sort of one-to-one in what they're trying to do, right?
That's
like,
true.
Stacks probably more similar maybe to like a Liquid or maybe like a Rootstock in terms of like having DeFi kind of on Bitcoin. Babylon's not really trying to do that, right? They're sort of a restaking platform, and you're staking Bitcoin and earning a yield, and that's kind of the primary thing that you're doing by using Babylon. Obviously, Lightning is more of a payments network. You can certainly do payments on Stacks as well. But yeah, all these networks are doing different things, but it's just really positive. When you look at, I think all these other networks in terms of like how much Bitcoin is bridged in, a majority of them are either just like very flat, right? This is Liquid here. Over the last year, it's been pretty much the same. But when you look at Stacks, it's just been monumental in terms of how much has been bridged in, and there's still a cap on it, right? I think once the cap gets removed, there's going to be even more. And we're gonna get into the roadmap here, and the roadmap shared the road to the next 21,000 BTC. I think was the number that was kind of the goal for the by the end of the year. I think I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is not the top of how much Bitcoin is going to be bridged into stacks. So yeah, we'll keep watching the space here, but stacks is on top. It's pretty cool.
And more amazing things to come. Should we get into the roadmap?
Let's do it. Yeah. So there was so much information that was shared on the roadmap, and I just stopped sharing my screen, but I'm going to go back to sharing it to talk a little bit about that. So Stacks, in my opinion, kind of dropped its biggest news of the year on Monday with this how Stacks is winning in 2025 roadmap. And a few highlights, in my opinion, are $1 billion in TVL is estimated by the end of the year. Right now, I think there's around 200 million or so in TVL on Stacks. So that's like a 5x over, what the current levels are. 10x from current levels at the start of May. And then, 250 million is expected by the end of next month. That milestone, if Stacks gets to that $1 billion TVL, would put Stacks in the top 10 among networks on DeFi Llama and the number one Bitcoin layer on DeFi Llama as well. So that would be a very big milestone. DeFi Llama is like kind of the main source for tracking things like TVL and just overall, on-chain activity in DeFi on across networks. So to be in the top 10 would be really huge. Next big thing, we're going to hear, I think, more about this, I think sometime next week. I think they shared by the end of May, we would have more. But Manib shared that unilateral withdrawals are coming to SBTC. He called it a major technical breakthrough, saying that unilateral withdrawals will enable Bitcoiners to exit their SBTC position and reclaim their native BTC using the Bitcoin L1 itself, fully self-custodial. So that's huge. Right now, when you're bridging SBTC into Stacks, you are depositing Bitcoin, or you're sending Bitcoin to an address, right? And you are trusting that the signers of SBTC are going to, one, give you the SBTC equivalent on Stacks, and also when you decide to withdraw, that they're going to give you back the Bitcoin that you originally had given them. And it's it's an open network, so it is relatively decentralized, and it's also the signers are public. There's a lot of other networks like Liquid where not all of the signers are public. So Stacks is already, very kind of decentralized in that regard. But with this sort of mechanism, it would basically make it so that even if like the Stacks network like ceased to exist, you would be able to reclaim your Bitcoin on the L1, which is like obviously huge. So very cool that this is eventually going to be coming to Stacks, and I think we're going to hear more about it next week.
Yeah, I'm pumped to hear more about this one. That's like obviously such a big thing for Bitcoiners. They have trust issues, and so kind of hearing how like the technicalities of this work is just, it's going to be so much easier to onboard people.
Yeah. Also, just going back to the institutional side too, right? Like institutions need this type of, these types of trust assumptions where there is no trust assumptions essentially, to, get more comfortable with using products like this. So yeah, very cool. Also additional value accrual opportunities for STX, dual staking. This is one that I think I'm the most excited about, especially just for the community. A lot of the community has, been here for years. There's STX holders, and to have, some very specific things that are hopefully going to help to just boost the value of the network is huge. So dual staking will allow users to stack SBTC and STX and earn a rewards multiple based on how much STX they have. SBTC will be usable for network fees with fee abstraction to STX under the hood. So under the hood, basically wallets will be like doing these swaps to STX in order to pay for transaction fees. And, they're still using STX, right? So it's sort of doubling down on STX is the main token that's used for transaction fees to keep the network alive, and just really cool to have them kind of doubling down on the STX token. Of course, SBTC is super important, to have more liquidity into the network. But I feel like, ever since kind of SBTC started to launch, 6 months ago or so, there hasn't been as much focus on the STX token. So just for the community, I'm really excited about this, that, long-term holders of stacks of STX are going to, benefit from things like this. So it's very exciting. Another one Rena shared is that SIP10 support is coming to centralized exchanges. So the one thing that's really cool about this is for centralized exchanges to support SBTC, they need to also, of course, support the SIP10 token standard. So that will pave the way for additional token support like meme coins and token generation events, if more, dApps, have their own tokens, to have those tokens listed as well. And I'll say a quote here. She said, "This initiative is actively targeting, quote, the Binances, OKXs, and Coinbases of the world." So pretty big exchanges that Stacks is trying to go after. And that's very cool.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to see our SIPs on there, SIP 10s.
Yeah, we'll see some Leo, some Welsh maybe in the future. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But the infrastructure will be there to support those tokens. So that's the big news.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I think this is the last kind of big one, is that a tier 1 stablecoin is coming in Q3. I was just sharing about the friction that's involved with getting your stablecoins on Stacks right now. But it was shared that a tier 1 stablecoin is coming to Stacks. It's on lock, ready to go, and has a Q3 target for going live. So that's just in a few months. So also very, very exciting. There's a lot more that was shared as well in the roadmap. You can go to stacksroadmap.com to find out some more information. And those are my highlights. What I guess on your end, what were kind of some of the big takeaways?
So I had 3 that I was like pretty excited about. I'll start with the stablecoin one because we're kind of talking about that. But this just makes it like, obviously usability just increases so much. Like when I'm talking to people about Granite, and they might be like Bitcoiners that are not super familiar with L2s and like putting your Bitcoin to work. And, I'm telling them all the things that you can do. But as soon as I explain that, like, you have to like use an ETH bridge or something for US, they're like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And so I think that just opens it up to so many more people who are very interested in doing more things, but definitely still have some like, they want to assume a lot of trust in the products they're using. And I think just using like a tier 1 just makes this so much more usable for them. Obviously, the unilateral withdrawals are like absolutely necessary. And I think that just this moves us from like an experimental layer to like a really credible layer that will like attract the 1 billion TVL, which obviously is just like pure signal that like Bitcoin DeFi is happening. People want it. And if they look at Stacks and they see like that much TVL, it's like, well, that's the place to be. And I think that just, has huge network effects for our whole ecosystem. So those are my big ones.
Yeah. Going back to, the bridging thing, like, when you're on Coinbase, for example, right, and you're trying to withdraw USDC, and then it asks you like, what network would you like to withdraw on, right? And it tells you all the networks, and it tells you all the fees that each network has, and you want to pick like the lowest fee network that's out there. I can imagine, right, where you try to withdraw Bitcoin from an exchange, and it's like, hey, what network do you want to withdraw it on, right? And you'll see like Stacks on there, and you can just withdraw. And it's abstracting away even like SBTC. It's just like, this is Bitcoin. It's just on Stacks. Yeah,
exactly.
That's how I would love to see, this type of implementation. I don't know if that's like what is actually going to happen, or if it's just going to be like SBTC, the token. But to have it like linked up with Bitcoin like that would be really, really huge. And again, just going back to like that friction, it's just like, I don't want to think about what network I'm using, right? I just want my Bitcoin, and I want to be able to send it cheaply and use it cheaply. And Stacks is going to enable that. So very exciting stuff. Yeah, lots to look forward to next week. We are both getting very ready for Bitcoin Vegas and getting our calendars sorted and figuring out all the different events that we're going to be at. But we can confirm at least that we're going to be at a couple different things. First one is you will definitely be able to find us next week at the Bitcoin conference at the Stacks booth. We're going to be working out of the Stacks booth. So very cool. Also that Stacks has an official presence at the conference this year.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. So if you're going to be at the conference, come say hi. We'd love to see you. There's going to be a lot of merch and a lot of fun things that you're going to be able to find at the booth. We're also going to be at the Bitcoin Speakeasy, which is the kind of official kind of Stacks side event that's happening on next Wednesday. Granite is a sponsor as well, so you can expect to find all sorts of cool Granite swag that Kate has been working on preparing. And we're also going to be doing a live show next week. No details yet. TBA on exactly where that's going to be, but that's going to, same time, ideally. And yeah, so if we see you in person next week, hit us up if you would like to be on the show. We did this last year in Nashville where we had a few folks on. We had Rosar on and Bit by Bit, and Brett from Gamma was on, and Nick, I think, also made an appearance, and we had just like this really, really cool show that was live, and it was like so cool to like talk to all these people in person and have like an in-person interview. And yeah, I want to do that again this year because it was so much fun. So yeah, hit us up if you're going to be in town next week. We would love to meet everybody, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, hit us up. I'm so excited. So many fun events, and like a lot of Stacks events are happening, even just like from companies like within the Stacks ecosystem are hosting some pretty fun events. So it's gonna be a good week.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna be at Inscribing Vegas as well. Definitely got to do the Ordinals night with the Pizza Ninjas. There's all these events that are happening at the Tyson Tiger Mansion.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bitflow and Trio, our friends over there. And yeah, the Taproot Wizards event that's happening, and yeah, there's so much stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot, and we're gonna be very busy. And yeah, looking forward to chatting with everybody. We're gonna also be like doing some like recording stuff as well. So if you want to get like interviewed, just find us. We're gonna have microphones, and we're gonna be ready to go, I guess.
We will set you up with some merch. We will merch you up.
Yeah, lots of swag to look forward to. Cool. I think that wraps it up for the week.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you maybe in person next week. But yeah, have a good weekend.
Awesome. See you guys.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.